Okay, this demo is going to be about intuitive painting, or painting without a photo or reference. Just basically painting something from your memory. And I'm going to do this demo using oil and cold wax. So the cold wax I use is Gamblet. And what I do, I've got my palette here ready, and what I do is I mix 50% paint to 50% or less of the cold wax. So I've mixed these up. I have white. This is, here, I'll move these over. White, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre light, turquoise, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, Indian yellow, and gold. And I'm just going to do a small painting. This is a 6x6 on a cradle board, and I've taped off the edges with frog tape. Just to make sure that the sides stay nice and clean. So I'm just going to go ahead on this. I'll be using palette knives and this little tool with it's got little metal ends with little balls on the end. They're good for sketching, scribing, mark making. And also this silicone pot scraper. This is something you get at a cooking store, but it works wonders when using this medium. You can spread stuff around very easily with it. And this will be my mixing palette here, because I want you to be able to see the mixing palette. And I'll try and make sure that that's in view. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a base layer of color just to get rid of the white. You can put a really thin layer on, and so you get the luminosity of the white showing through still. The one thing about using cold wax with oil paint, you do not have to worry about the thick over thin theory, about laying your color on thin and then the final layer thick. You can do whatever you want in this, thick, thin, thin, thick, thick, thin, thick, whatever, because the fact that the wax, the cold wax in the paint allows the paint to dry evenly throughout. And it also, because the wax is a combination of white beeswax and some odorless mineral spirits, it dries quicker than just plain on straight oil paint. So this will be dry almost to the touch in a couple of days. Like you couldn't varnish it after there. And what I do is I varnish it with a coat of the clear wax and buff it. I'm just mixing together some ultramarine blue and some burnt sienna. This is sort of my go-to dark mixture that I like to use. And if I want to warm it up a little bit, I can add a little bit extra burnt sienna, or I can add a little bit of alizarin crimson to warm it up. So it's a little bit warmer there. I'm just going to go in here and just lay on some color and see where I go. Right now, I really don't have any sort of idea of where this painting is going. I'm just going to put down some color and go from there. So I'm just picking up a little bit of burnt sienna straight on, just to warm up the foreground. So I'm going to add a little bit more of this here, I think. I'm going to maybe think of this as a rise it's almost like an ink blot. You start seeing things coming out. A little bit of burnt sienna. So that's good there. I want to soften this edge so it's more treetop like. Back in here too. So I'm starting to see something there. And I'm thinking there might be some water here. So I can just very easily scrape back, very gently, just back to the layers that are underneath there, sort of to find where that water is that I want it. And I'm thinking, yeah, maybe it comes in here too. A little bit there. Let's sort of bring it a little bit into the foreground. Something like that. Because this is sort of light water. I'm going to do that. And this probably should be a little bit more organic shapes. And then maybe if we want a little bit more attention in this area, we can just sort of make it look like there's a little bit of water in here somewhere, and that is going to catch the eye and bring you into this area there. Something like that. So sort of focal area here a little bit. And this is like so. Okay, so we got some basic stuff going on. I'm going to put in some sky. So what I'm going to do for that is I don't want it to be too blue, so I'm going to use some of this color that I've got for this dark, and I'm going to put white into it. So I got the gray. Then I'm going to maybe, that's the Indian yellow and some white. What else are we looking for here? We'll probably put a little bit of blue in there. I'm gonna go with the ultramarine there with some white. So let's start with those anyway. So I'm going to swing this around. And put some gray in. Here. And a little bit of blue. The blue is almost the same color as the gray, which is okay. I'm all right with that. And I'm going to take my pot scraper. Well, let me just put some of this lighter color in. going to put that down in there. I like bright horizons, and it emphasizes that the sky right overhead, which is at the top of your painting, should be darker than what's way out there, which is close to the horizon. So adding those lights really helps. So I'm going to put quite a bit there because I'm going to pull that back in to there. And I'm just going to pull just some white, a little bit of white here, and sort of just lay that on top, like that. Then I'm going to take my pot scraper, and I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit. That white. I don't mind if some of those holes show through. We want to make it moody. We love moody. Soft edges. Yeah. Okay, so now at this point, what I can do too is I can take some of this blue and pull it down into the trees. Make sure I wipe it because I will be picking up some of the dark. And I want to make sure, you know, put a little bit more of that on there so I have more paint to deal with. Whoop. Yeah, I didn't go and do what I said about wiping, and I got those little flecks there. I can just take those out a little bit. It's best not to have to worry about taking those out. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of gray, a little bit of blue on the end of my pot scraper, and I'm just going to pull that in there like that, and maybe even more. And I'm just going to put in a few little bird holes and things where I think maybe they should be. I like that. So this is all intuitive. I'm thinking, okay, so if that is that, this should be this. Based on all these elements that we have learned over the years about what we should be doing to make a good composition. And so a lot of the time, a photograph is never going to be that great composition. So sometimes you just got to go in there and think, okay, I'm just going to go and do my own thing, and let's see what happens. I think all of a sudden my focal point has jumped up to this corner, and it will do that because I don't have a set plan. Things will change throughout. The truth will out, as they say. I don't know who says that, but somebody does. The truth will out. Get rid of that weird thing there. This is still the Indian yellow with just a little bit of white in it. I'm just gonna have that cloud fluffitate off to there, into the heavens. There's another fluffitating. It's almost like fog rising or something. I'm not 100% sure, but you know, at this point, that's fine. I'm going to put a little bit of this as a reflection onto the water, this color, because that's should be a reflective element. Okay, so it's not looking too bad. We'll put a little bit more of this over here so I can pull it down to sort of make that treetop, make it look more like treetops. So pull it down, wipe, pull it down, wipe. And that's just basically because I'm working with those. Okay, so I'm liking what's happening here. I will use this tool in a minute. I wanted to jump ahead, but I won't do that. So I just want to cool this out back here because it is further away. And I want to make this, I'm going to just pull this up here a little bit so that it makes that little bit of land back there look further away as well. So we have foreground, then this, and then this looks like little islands or something out there. And I can just get rid of that little. So that just pushes that back further because then this area here is in the foreground. Okay, so let's mix up a cooler blue there. So I'm going to be using my ultramarine blue. I'll swing this around so I have some. So the ultramarine blue, I want to keep it cool. I need to lighten it a little bit though. And I'll probably tone it out, or I want to get rid of this, the high chroma of this, because it's going further away, and as things go further away, they're not as colorful. So I'm going to use my gray that I used, that dark, just to kill that chroma in that. You see? See how that turns into more of a gray. So that's almost the same value there. So I could maybe put a little bit of that. Again, I'm just putting a little bit on my pot scraper. Let's just see how this looks, this color. So I'm just going to lightly scrape this paint over top of what's going on. Because the light could be hitting here. Which way is my sun coming in? Good question. Let's make it coming in this way. Because I want to keep these dark, but I don't want to lighten those. So if the sun's coming in this way, right down here, that would be in light. So again, I'm reasoning this out. I'm doing the puzzle as I paint, so it adds to the intuitiveness of this. Anything lower down, maybe cooler. so I can put in this color I made. I'm going to lighten this color as well. So that cools that, pushes that back a bit. I want to do the same with this little bit of land here. I want to make sure I really put emphasis on the fact that it's further away. There goes my tool onto the floor. And I will be needing that. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sort of pull out maybe some tree trunks back there. We'll just put in a bunch of them and then we can wean out the ones we don't like afterwards. Maybe have a few of them going like that. And even maybe there's some rocks or something. So I'm just going to soften some of these just by lightly going over them. So we've pushed that back. That's still got a little light on it. This is in the foreground, and this is even closer to us. So I'm thinking I want to sort of warm this up a little bit. So how do I feel? What colors do I want to use? I'm going to use a little bit. I'm going to try some of this, well, I'll try some of this gold that I've like. It's metallic gold. And it's got the wax in, obviously, as well, too. So I'm going to put some of that on here with my palette knife tool. And this sort of lightens up this area back here and sort of gives you a bit of a mid-tone. Maybe back over here too. So it's sort of this area and step back, step back. This area in the front will be warmer. Now that works for me. I'm just going to pick up the littlest bit and just put just a little bit over there on that far shore. Just because I like to, if I'm using a color, I like to move it around, use it in multiple locations. And again, I'm going to drag it, wipe, drag, wipe, drag, wipe, drag it, wipe it. Drag, wipe. These. Okay, so now I'm trying to get a little bit of more depth in there. I might. It's always good to talk to yourself while you're doing these things. Because if, you let your inner muse into the process. I always find the best way to let my inner muse into the process is start talking to myself. And sometimes I'll get the answers I need. Oops, I don't want to do that. That's pulling that off too much, pulling it back, making it too bright. Okay, so I like that. I'm going to put a little bit of white now into this gold, because I just want to get a little bit more depth of field here. I'm going to put it right back in here. Okay, this kind of blue that's up in the sky, I'm just going to take a little bit of that, and I want to just add a little bit of that into the water. Not too much though. A little bit of a reflective of the blue, as well as something like that. Soften that edge. I can always go back in with a little bit more of this yellow. I feel I've got too much. Yeah. This is the gold. Okay. I've got this really cruddy fan brush that I never clean, and it gets really gummed up. But I like it that way because it's great for mark making, and I don't have to clean the thing. Okay, I'm just going to move that color around. Put in a little bit here and there. That's the same mixture that's here. Okay, so now I'm going to I want to warm up this foreground a little bit, so I'm going to let's try using burnt sienna and a little bit of the alizarin crimson to make it even a warmer mixture. And I'm going to separate that because I'm going to mix some of the yellow ochre light in with some of this. more. I could put white in, but you know, as soon as you put white into a color, you're cooling it. So it's better to try and lighten colors with warm colors. So lighten reds with yellows as opposed to using a white. Blues, that's fine. Okay, so, and I might put a little bit of gold in with that. I'm just looking to get a few different shades here, sort of to throw into this foreground area. Then I might do a little bit of green, but you know how much I don't like green. Okay, so let's go with, what does this, yeah, that color's good. Let's go with some of this here. Not so much of it back there. Okay, this color is a slightly warmer. Tiny bit, and that'll be, I'll mix that in. So now the warmest color, what's that going to be like? It's almost too warm. I think we're good just with the burnt sienna. Okay, so let's just see what we can do with this. I might blue that out a little bit too because it's further back. I'm going to put something lighter across that. I want a shaft of light coming in there, but I'm going to do some stalks coming down. Okay, that's good. And we'll put some in here. I was thinking I want the water to go in behind there too and have an actual separation here. Again, this is just, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking compositionally wise, as I proceed through the painting, no, I think I want to change that. I want to do that. I want to move that. I think it would be better this way rather than that way. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to peel some of that out, and here too, because I want the water to be coming in here. Give a bit of a definition there. Yeah, I like that better. It looks more like a point. It was a little bit too joined up. And then and in doing that, I can go in here and cut in so that you see some of the water through these bushes here in the foreground. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to go in now with the color that we did the rest of the water and sort of go into there, but I might leave a little bit of that darker muddy stuff close to the shore. There. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it down, wipe it off, pull it down, wipe it off, just to get a little bit more of an organic line than what I can possibly put down. Yeah, I think that's better. Maybe a little burnt sienna just up in here. Oops. And this cross here, it's too flat. So I'm going to try and just make that line different across there. So it doesn't dry your eye so much. Put a little bit of gray in there, but darker gray. I think rocks here would be kind of cool. Why not? This is Sharon's world. So I'm going to use some of the darker gray and some of the lighter gray, mix them together, sort of for a medium tone gray. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I want to make them make it look more rock-like as opposed to foliage. And we could almost take some of the sky gray, I think, and just go over top of these to make rocks lights, the light on rocks. Try and be as organic as I can. And I'm thinking maybe I need some rocks back here too. Yeah. And maybe just some rocks here and there within this as well. Spread the rock love. There we go. I might succumb to a little green. So, oops, I'm just going to leave that. Again, with a little bit of the dark, the original dark. Just going to tighten up this around these rocks into them, so it's not as a rough line. It's more of a, you know, that's where the rock ends and the trees are coming up behind. Something like that. Yeah, there's a lot of information in this picture. Okay. All right, so I could do a little green, just a little flush of green, but I'd have to mix it using, not red, the blue. I've got ultramarine blue, and I'm not going to use very much of that though, because I don't want very much green. So my choices are mixing it with gold, Indian yellow, or yellow ochre. Let's try the Indian gold and see what we come up with. And that's quite dark. It's very dark green. Okay, so that might be good for in here. It's even too dark in there. What I do want a value shift. I'm going to put some white in there. So that green was ultramarine blue and Indian yellow. Actually, I should probably put lighter green back there. And I want to put a little bit of green in the foreground too, just because people expect it. It's a landscape. It should have some green in there. Does it have to? Does it have to? Maybe. So I'm just going to sort of really push this in a little bit. I don't like that there. So I'm going to take that out. Okay. It's not really supposed to represent any particular tree. It's just a color. So I'm kind of good. I'm thinking I do want to put a few marks back in here. A little bit of white. Just the hintiest of hints. That's too light. See that value shift there? Not good. Me no like. Me no like. So I'm just gonna push that in. Okay. It actually is better with the darker value, kind of to match that blue. Like that. Okay, I want a nice blast of light shining right across there. Boom. And then I'm going to put some light in the sky, and then that's it. So this light, what do I want? Probably, I'm running out of room to mix here. This is too light, but I kind of want to keep some of that because that's my sky color. So if I need it, I don't want to totally mix it out, because if then in an emergency, if I need it, I'm not going to have it. So let's see what we can do for this blast. Sort of like a ray of light coming through here. Do we want some gold in there? I don't know. Maybe we do. White. I need to lighten it. Yeah, you know what? It's got too much chroma. So when it's got too much chroma, what do? You add a complementary color, and that will take some of the saturation out. The complementary color, in this case, it's kind of yellowy orange, and I do have some blue, so I'm going to put that in. And the lighter blue, because I don't want to darken it up as very much again. I need more. I'm pretty much out of that. I've used it all up. I may have to regress to the other, but you can sort of see that that is not so out of the tube kind of color. Okay. That's looking better, but is it right? I think it needs to be a little bit warmer. I don't want to add red, so burnt sienna, a little burnt sienna. That's not too bad. That is sort of organic. I'm almost thinking of a little bit more burnt sienna in there, and then I may have to push it back again. if it gets too dark. Yeah, I think that might be good. It's not too bright. It's not too light. If you kind of squint at it, it is the value's lighter, but I don't want it to be like, you know, crazy. Crazy. Okay. Cross your fingers and hope to survive. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think I'm gonna take this right out the side like that. Maybe not so much there. But I think I like it going right off, sort of on a, give you kind of a, you know, those zigzags that I'm always talking about. And I think I'm going to push it up there like that. And then maybe bounce it around a little bit. Like that. Yeah. And then there may be an opportunity to put it over there. Right. I wanted to put a little bit more white in the sky. Not much, just a little bit. Just sort of. Kind of a crazy cloud. Or as Bob Ross would say, a happy little cloud. Sort of giving me a zag. Giving me a little bit more of a value shift in it, in the work itself. Because up until then, that was the lightest. So I could put a little bit more of this white in the, right down there in the horizon. And just a little bit. Oops. Oops. There we go. So I'm just looking at this and I'm going, well, you know, intuitively I would maybe want to do this. And this. Just to bring this lightest of light colors closer to these really dark trees so that it emphasizes that sort of the focal point. Like if anything, I could even put a lighter, you know, you get to a point where you just think, okay, well, I could do this, or I could do that, I could keep doing this. I could even put a little bit lighter on that, just on the edge there, just Just like that. Not that much lighter, just a titch lighter. There we go. Okay, so that is somewhere, I don't know where, somewhere in my mind,